There are working bed and breakfasts inside real retired lighthouses across the country right now, and the cheapest one you can actually book tonight starts at $109. That $109 room is in Two Harbors, Minnesota, inside the oldest operating light station in the entire state. It's a real guest room in a real lighthouse with a light that still flashes over Lake Superior every night. All 5 of these are currently bookable, not restored museums with a gift shop and a 10-minute tour, but places you can actually sleep in tonight if you had the dates open. The United States Lighthouse Society keeps a running list of lighthouses open to the public, and most of what's on it is day use only. A plaque, a short tour, a parking lot. These 5 are the other category. The ones where the keeper's quarters are still a working guest room, run today by everything from a county historical society to a private innkeeper who lives on site. The prices on this list run from $109 to $475. That's a $400 spread for what is, on paper, the same basic idea: a bed inside a lighthouse. So here's what actually separates a $109 night from a $475 one. It mostly isn't the room. It's how hard the lighthouse is to get to, whether the bathroom is yours alone, and, in one case on this list, whether you're allowed to shower at all. One of these you drive straight to. Another one requires a 4-wheel drive trip across open sand dunes. And the most expensive night on this entire list comes with a rule that sounds made up. You may not be allowed to use the shower. Cheapest to most expensive. Here's number 1. Two Harbors Lighthouse rents rooms starting at $109 a night, and it first lit its lamp on April 14, 1892, making it the oldest operating light station in Minnesota, still in service today. The lighthouse sits above Agate Bay in Two Harbors, on the north shore of Lake Superior. It was built for one specific, unglamorous reason: guiding iron ore freighters safely into harbor during the shipping boom off the Mesabi Range. That's not a romantic origin story. It's an industrial one, but it's the reason the light still runs a real 20-second flash pattern every night, not a decorative one. It also means the view from the harbor room isn't scenery for its own sake. It's the same working harbor the lighthouse was built to watch over more than a century later. The Lake County Historical Society runs it now as a bed and breakfast with 4 rooms to choose from: the forest room, the harbor room, the keeper's room, and a separate private cottage called the skiff house, a few steps from the main building with its own bath and a view of Agate Bay. Rates run from $109 up to $170, depending on the room, and a breakfast voucher is included with every stay. The 3 rooms inside the lighthouse itself aren't identical either. The forest room is the largest, looking out over the sun rising through the woods. The harbor room faces the other way, toward Lake Superior sunsets, and the actual ore boats still docking in the harbor below. The same kind of ship this light was built to guide in. A breakfast voucher comes with every stay, redeemable at a restaurant in town rather than served on site. Here's the honest catch. The 3 rooms inside the lighthouse itself share a single bathroom, plus a half bath in the basement. Only the Skiff House Cottage has a private bath. Guest reviews consistently mention this as the one thing to plan around. It's rarely a real problem in practice, but if the house is full, you're taking turns. For $109, a shared bathroom is a fair trade. The next tower on this list costs $36 more, and trades that shared bathroom for something a lot stranger. There's no road to it at all. Race Point Lighthouse starts at $145 a night, and the current tower has stood since 1876. A 45-foot cast-iron tower with a brick lining built to replace an earlier lighthouse from 1816. It sits at the very tip of Cape Cod, inside Cape Cod National Seashore, run by the Cape Cod chapter of the American Lighthouse Foundation. The keeper's house has 3 upstairs bedrooms. You can rent 1, 2, or all 3 together, which sleeps up to 10 people, with a full kitchen and living room downstairs. Rates run $145 to $185 depending on how much of the house you take, and the season runs May through early November. Stays are flexible in a way most of this list isn't. You can book anywhere from 1 night up to 4 in a row, which makes this one of the easier lighthouses here to fit into an actual weekend trip, dune crossing aside. The tower standing today isn't the original. An earlier lighthouse went up on this spot in 1816, 60 years before the current 45-foot cast-iron tower replaced it in 1876. There's actually a second building on site, the Whistle House, once used to house the station's fog signal equipment. It's rentable too, but on different terms than the keeper's house. It carries its own minimum stay rules, and the shorter the visit, the more restricted your options. Now, the part that makes this one different from a normal bed and breakfast, there is no road to Race Point Lighthouse. None. Guests are driven roughly 2 miles across open sand dunes by four-wheel drive vehicle provided by the volunteer keepers who staff the property. You don't bring your own car out onto the sand. Once you're there, the light and fog signal run entirely on solar power, which tells you how off-grid this actually is. This isn't a quirky detail for the brochure. It's the defining fact of staying here. You are as isolated as a genuinely undeveloped stretch of national seashore at the literal end of Cape Cod, with nothing between you and the Atlantic. $145 gets you the most remote address on this entire list. The next lighthouse trades sand dunes for something almost as memorable, a 205-foot drop straight down to the Pacific. Hexada Lighthouse rooms start at $208 a night, running up to $619 depending on the season, and the light itself sits 205 feet above the ocean on a headland on the central Oregon coast near Yachats. Built in 1894, Hexada Head's beam is rated to reach 21 miles out to sea, among the strongest lights on the entire Oregon coast, and it's listed on the National Register of Historic Places. The keeper's house below it, now the bed and breakfast, has 6 guest rooms, all with queen beds, and the stay comes with what the property calls a 7-course, locally sourced breakfast, which is a genuinely unusual amount of food to build into a hotel rate. The 6 rooms split roughly into 2 tiers. 2 of them, Mariner Firs and Mariner 2, actually face the ocean. 2 more, Cape Cove and Queen Anne, don't have the view but come with clawfoot bathtubs instead. Guests without an ocean-facing room still get access to a wraparound porch built for exactly that trade-off. The honest catches here are milder than most of this list, but real. Some of the 6 rooms share bathrooms rather than having a private one. Only a couple of the pricier rooms get a clawfoot tub and their own bath. Some weekend dates carry a 2-night minimum. And because a property this old always has one. Hexada Head has a resident ghost story. The property itself leans into it in its own marketing. That's local legend, not a documented fact, and this video isn't treating it as one. $208, 21 miles of visible beam, and a 7-course breakfast. The next one costs $11 more, and comes with a strict rule about who's even allowed to check in. Big Bay Point Lighthouse starts at $219 a night, running up toward $425 in peak season, and the tower has stood since 1896, 64 feet tall, its light sitting 108 feet above Lake Superior. This is one of the last true resident innkeeper lighthouse bed and breakfasts left in the country. About 25 miles north of Marquette, Michigan, and the gap between decommissioned and bed and breakfast here is longer and stranger than anywhere else on this list. The Coast Guard automated the light in 1941, then fully decommissioned the station in 1961. That same year, a private buyer named John Pick purchased the abandoned station specifically to restore it. It then sat, restored but empty for 25 years before a couple named the Gottschalks finally developed it into a working guest lodge in 1986. A quarter century between rescue and opening night, the property has changed hands since. As of recent years, it's been owned and operated by Nick Korstad. 7 guest rooms were built into the keeper's quarters, 5 of them currently in service, all with private baths, which already makes this one more private than 3 of the others on this list. Guests also get full access to climb the tower itself, which most lighthouse stays don't offer. Here's the catch, and it's not about the room, it's about the rules. Guests must be 21 or older with no children and no pets allowed at all. Check-in is a strict window, 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern. Arrive late and you forfeit both the reservation and the deposit. You're capped at 2 rooms per booking. Cancellations carry a $50 service charge, and most rooms don't have a television. This is a property built around the view and the history, not modern conveniences. There's also a persistent legend about the first keeper, William Pryor, who vanished in 1901 after his son died and was found nearly a year and a half later. That's a local legend passed down for over a century, not a verified account, but it's part of why this lighthouse has the reputation it does. Private bathrooms, tower access, and the strictest rulebook on this list. The last lighthouse breaks every pattern so far. It's the most expensive night here, and it's the only one you cannot drive to at all. East Brother Light Station starts at $475 a night, up to $525 depending on the room, or $2,500 to book the entire 5-bedroom house. And the lighthouse has stood since 1873, making it the oldest structure on this list. It sits on its own small island, roughly half a mile offshore from Point San Pablo in Richmond, California, inside San Francisco Bay. And the price is genuinely all-inclusive. Round-trip boat transport, a full tour of the lighthouse, hors d'oeuvres and champagne on arrival, a 4-course dinner with wine, and a full breakfast the next morning. 5 bedrooms are available, each named for a piece of the station's history. The San Francisco Room, the Marin Room, the West Brother Room, the Two Sisters Room, and Walter's Quarters. The Marin Room is the one with its own private bath, and it's also usually the most expensive single room on the island, around $525 for a Thursday through Sunday stay. Now the catch is, and this is the most demanding stay on the entire list. You get there by a small motorboat, Coast Guard rated for 6 passengers per trip, and the crossing is genuinely tide and weather dependent. Guest accounts describe trips delayed by king tides and by storms rolling through the bay. Only one of the 5 rooms has a private bathroom. The rest share. And here's the detail that surprises almost everyone who books it. If you're staying just one night, you may be asked not to shower at all. Showers are reserved for guests staying more than one night because of how limited fresh water is on an island half a mile out in the bay. The boat-to-dock transfer also involves a ladder climb the property itself says isn't suitable for anyone using a wheelchair or walker. And one more honest note. Straight from a recent guest account, the island itself is, in one visitor's words, kind of falling apart a little bit, which tracks for a 150-year-old wooden structure sitting in open water. That's not a hidden flaw. It's baked into what this place is, so that's the real shape of this list. $475 doesn't buy you more comfort than the $109 room in Minnesota. In some ways, it buys you less. What it buys is distance, an island, a boat, and a level of isolation none of the other 4 even attempt. 5 lighthouses, 5 real bookable stays, $109 for a shared bathroom above Lake Superior, $145 for a 4-wheel drive trip across open dunes, $208 for the strongest beam on the Oregon coast, $219 for a strict rulebook and full tower access, and $475 for a boat ride to an island where you might not be allowed to shower. None of these are museums you walk through for 10 minutes and leave. Every one of them is a lighthouse. Someone still keeps a light burning in, most nights, with a real guest room built into the same walls a keeper used to live in, and no two are run the same way. A county historical society in Minnesota, a chapter of a national lighthouse foundation on Cape Cod, private innkeepers in Oregon and Michigan, and a small island operation in San Francisco Bay that hasn't changed its basic model in decades. There's no single company behind this list. Each one survives because a different, specific group of people decided it was worth keeping open. The trade-off across this entire list is the same one, just at different prices. The more remote and the more inconvenient the lighthouse, generally, the more it costs to stay there, not less. To be clear, this is informational, not a booking service. We're not affiliated with any of these 5 properties, and every rate in this video reflects the low end of that property's published range as of our research. Not a flat, guaranteed price. Verify directly with each lighthouse before you plan a trip around any of these numbers. If you've actually stayed at one of these, or you know a 6th lighthouse that belongs on this list, put it in the comments. And if this was useful, subscribing helps us keep finding places like this.